Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Embrace with Christina, the podcast. This is episode 6. And today we are going to talk about the goodness of God and how He provides. So, I was inspired to do this episode because I am currently reading the book of Isaiah, or I should say, I'm studying the book of Isaiah. And where I am in the book, I'm kind of like towards chapters 40, like 40. I just finished up like the 30s, and then now I'm kind of moving into like 40. So I'm kind of getting towards the end of the book of Isaiah, but I think there's only like, I think there's like 60 chapters in there. So I'm getting there, but I wanted to highlight the goodness of God and how God provides, because I'm myself am in a waiting season and a season of just kind of waiting to see what God is going to do. And it's very interesting how things kind of unfold. And it's interesting that I have been reading the book of Isaiah for a few weeks now, and it wasn't until I got to like this portion around chapters, the 30 chapters and 40 chapters, where it's like I just really locked in, like tuned into what I was reading. And I have the King James version, and there's a little like study notes that are on the bottom as well. So every time I read a section, I go down to the bottom just to see, because it can kind of be a little hard to follow, trying to figure out, okay, what's going on. It's almost kind of like reading a poem, but we know that the way the Bible is written in a way that the wisdom, sometimes there's wise things in there that are like hidden, air quotes hidden, and it's that way because it's for those who have ears to hear, eyes to see, those who are really tuned into the Lord, who really get that understanding. And I love how the Bible really challenges us in that way, and it causes us to just look a little bit deeper than just words on a paper. So back to what I was saying about me reading Isaiah. Kind of in a quick summary is the children of Israel. They're in I think it's Babylon, or they're in some other like foreign land, and they're waiting for God to deliver them out of this land. But the problem is they have turned to false gods. They've turned to idols. They have turned away from God, and really kind of due to their own impatience. It's kind of like they were thinking, okay, God, you're taking too long. We're going to just create our own idols. And it's really crazy. And so it's like God is constantly saying like how foolish that is. Like he's speaking to Isaiah and telling Isaiah to go to the people to say like, hey, this is foolish. Like you're making your own idols out of wood that you basically made your dinner on, or you've used to build something, and now you made this idol and you're bowing down to this like false god looking for an answer. And so it makes me think of ourselves and how sometimes, or a lot of times, we do the same thing. We may not go and make an idol out of wood, but sometimes we make idols out of, I don't know, social media. We make idols out of work. We make idols out of other things where we think that's going to solve our problem. And to me, I think that's what an idol is when you go to that thing thinking this is going to solve my problem. This is going to be the answer, when really God is the answer, and you need to put your faith in Him and not in these external things. And so this is where God really, steps it up. I shouldn't say step it up, because God always is stepping it up. But this is where God really shows like His power, because we know if God got to come down here to show us something and teach us something, it's like, it's powerful, but it's just like, we know it's gonna be a big, huge, experienced. So that's really what's happening in the book of Isaiah. And it's just, I've been so blessed by it. It's just been ministering to me in so many different ways, particularly since I'm in my like waiting season as well. And just like reaching out to God and saying, God, like, I don't know what you're doing, but I trust you. I'm not sure. I can't see all the parts, but I feel it. And I know that things are going to open up. I know that things are going to work out. I know that he is going to provide, and, and his provision is perfect. And so even when we know that, it's just we're looking around and we're like, dang, okay, I don't know how God gonna do it. But I think with me, my mindset this time around, which is different than like times in the past, my mindset is, okay, I know God's gonna do it, but I'm trying to figure, like, I'm physically thinking like, dang, like, how's he gonna do this? Like, how is he gonna do that? How is he gonna do this? I know that he's gonna make a way, but dang, how is he gonna do it? Because I can't. So I'm kind of like more so in a spirit of expectancy. And now, like, as I'm looking for like different opportunities or different work opportunities, I'm just like, all right, if something is meant for me, God will open the door. If it's not, then we good. And I'm not tripping over it. Like, this is probably, I don't want to say the first time, because I've definitely had faith like this before in the past, but this is, I guess, in most recent years, the first time in recent years that I have just said, all right, I don't quite know what God is going to do, but I know he's going to do something, and I'm not relying on my own strength. I'm just going to be like, all right, I can go out for this opportunity or that opportunity, but it's up to God. Like, if he wants to open that door, then he'll open it. And so, and having peace about it. And I think that's when you know that you're really resting in the Lord, is when you have peace about it. And you know that God is not going to fail you. So I just, again, I have been so blessed by reading the book of Isaiah. And like I mentioned before, I still have a few more, chapters and stuff to go. But it's interesting to me how the children of Israel at that time, it just really shows how just kind of like disobedience and turning away from God just really kind of kept them in a place longer than they should. And so, and complained, disobedient and complained. And so you see this happening again, and then you see God really just saying, hey, I'm going to deliver you, because God makes this promise. Hey, I'm going to deliver you. I'm going to give you this and this. Like he gives this instruction to Isaiah, and it's so vivid. And it's so, even all the way to like what's going to happen with the kings and who's going to take over and all of that and what's going to happen. Oh, and there was this one point in Isaiah. I should have wrote these down. I highlighted them. I don't have my Bible open right now because I'm just kind of, this is impromptu, but there's a part where it's like, it's one of the kings, Hezekiah. So Hezekiah, he's like leader of Israel, and he's like going to, he's talking to this king, and the king is really cocky, and he's just kind of saying like, oh, basically like, oh, you think your God is going to defeat me and he's going to do this, this, and this and stuff. He's like, what God has ever, done any of those things? And because he's literally comparing the one true God to like false gods. And like, as I was reading it, I was like, the nerve, like, okay, like you want to be cocky like that, like a little arrogant attitude. And God showed him, because after Hezekiah prayed, because he was like really nervous, and he was like, is God gonna do this? Is he gonna, protect us and deliver us and stuff? And so then Isaiah goes and gives the word, and he basically says, this is what the Lord says. And and said that, you know, this king is going to essentially be killed by his own family. And which is what happened. And it's just like, it's funny because the king ended up leaving the area, and then sure enough, like, he was killed by his own sons. There's another part after that, like, with all the people connected to this king that was just part of the evil doing, that it talked about how the angels came down and smote like all of them, and when they woke, like when they all got up in the morning, like all of them was dead. And it's like, it showed me the power of God and how God is in control of everything, and that the moment that God steps in, it's over. Like, and it just made me think of just everything right now. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty again, and people are kind of like, oh, what's gonna happen, what's gonna, you know, just kind of with like the world and society. And what people have to understand is that God is in control. When I read passages like that in the Bible, it shows me that as soon as God comes down here, it's over. Like, everything. The same thing happened with the Tower of Babel. It's like, as soon as God was like, okay, let's go down there, he told, you know, his angels, you know, his crew, and he's like, let's go down there because, you know, the folks they about to get themselves in some trouble. That's when he confused the languages. But you see how quickly things just changed. Like, it was an instant. And so I want to add that piece, because if you are in a place where you're like feeling anxious and you're feeling like uncertain and you don't know like what's gonna happen and everything, because no one really does, and you're looking for answers, just know that God is in control, and God sees everything and he has it under control. And that the moment he steps in, it's over. The battle's over. It won't even matter anymore. None of this stuff will matter. And so that part really stood out to me in Isaiah, that, you know, hey, the angels came down and they regulated real quick. And so that was like interesting to me, and it was really funny to me. But looking at like the rest of the story and how God just like, and it's interesting because God has to like keep reminding the people, like, I'm going to deliver you, I'm going to do this. And so sometimes we're like that, where we have to kind of like remind ourselves, like, dang, like, how many times does God have to show up for us? How many times does he have to say he's going to do something before we like really believe it? Like, how many times does God have to show himself to be true? And so it's like, we should just know. We should just be like, you know what? I know God is true. I know that God is a provider. I know that God is going to meet my needs. I know that he's going to do this. I don't need to question what he's going to do in my life, because I know he's going to do something big. And that's a really special place to get to in our faith. It's a very special place that you get to. And it takes being in the word. It takes mindset. It really takes not allowing your logic to override what you know in your spirit, because your spirit is correct. And I always say this, like, your physical mind is there to make sense of everything. It just evaluates, it calculates, it's very logical and kind of more like just straightforward. And your spirit is aligned with God, because it's just receiving stuff in the spiritual realm. It's receiving messages, and it's telling you what you should do. It's telling you the direction you should go. And so that's why sometimes we got to learn to just tell our brains, like, to be quiet and to stop with the intrusive thoughts, to stop with all the conflicting messages that don't line up, and to understand that God's way is the right way. So I just briefly, I just wanted to hop on and just kind of like talk about that real quick because it's a word. It's a whole word, and I know there's going to be so much more in the book of Isaiah. Like I said, I'm almost done, and it's already just been such a huge blessing. Like I've been highlighting so many things with my highlighter because I was like, this is good. This is so good, and it just it's reassurance, and I love how God will meet us where we are like that. And I mean, I randomly like picked I think I just randomly picked Isaiah to like start reading and studying, and I don't know why, but now I do know why, because it's like there was something God wanted me to get out of that. And that's how the Lord works, is we may not know or be very sure why God has us in a certain place, but he has us there because there's something that we're going to learn there, that we're growing there. There's something that is taking place. So yeah, but that's pretty much it for this episode. This one's really, really short, but I just wanted to hop on and talk about that because I know many of us are like in waiting seasons, and many of us are trying to see what God's going to do in the midst of everything that's kind of just going on. And you may not directly see an answer, but know that God is working on the answer. Like God already has the answer. He's just moving different things into place before he now positions you to receive it. So that's all it really is. But yeah, but that's pretty much it for today's episode. I hope that like you got something out of it. I'll probably do more of these where I just kind of check in and kind of talk about just like scripture and just things that have just been on my heart to talk about. And so yeah, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel so that way you can be notified when I upload new episodes. Make sure to hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss out. And as always, I will catch y'all on the next episode. Have a great day. Bye.